All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Thomas, and I am the Western Regional Sales Manager for HIMSS. Today, we're going to be doing a webinar discussing the new Polaris firmware introduction. So to get things started, I'm going to do some introductions, and then I'm going to do a quick overview of what we're discussing today, and then we're going to jump right into it. So first things first, as I said, my name is Thomas, Regional Sales Manager for HIMSS, and it is a pleasure to meet you or get to speak to you again. And up next, we have Mike Tyndall. Mike, go ahead and say hi. And Mike is muted. All right, moving on to Earl. We have Earl Harrison here with us as well today. Earl, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
I want to, and I will. Hey, everybody. How you doing? I just got a simple switch on my microphone that when I'm done talking, I can just switch it off. So I'll do that.
Wonderful. In addition, we have Randy. Randy, would you like to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey, this is Randy. I'm working at the Austin office. I'm the CEO of the company. I really thank for your join our webinar today. I appreciate your time. You know, I know that time is tough for everybody now. I really hope everybody's really well and safe. And, you know, since March, COVID-19 have been affecting us in, you know, every possible way. We are based in Austin, Texas. We got kind of a homestay order right until the end of the year, actually. However, we are working continuously over the phones and webinars and virtual exhibitions for our customers, you know, including getting orders, shipping, repair, and technical support. But honestly, I have to admit that, you know, sometimes our feedback to you, you know, kind of delayed and not fast enough because, you know, most of the time our, you know, staff work remotely at home. I would like to say sorry about that, you know, any inconvenience on this matter, but also I would like to ask you, you know, kind understanding about this special, you know, not normal condition due to the COVID-19. We will keep trying to give you the better service and support. Again, thank you for your time today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Randy. And then let's see if Mike Tyndall, if you're listening in here, go ahead and unmute yourself and give an introduction. Otherwise, we're going to keep on going. So what we're going to cover today, Randy's going to start by giving a general update. I'm going to discuss the firmware release and talk a little bit about, you know, if you're in education, how this firmware will impact you. We've got Mike Tyndall, who's going to talk about recent developments with some of the support features. And then we're going to wrap up with Earl, who's going to talk about launching default apps from email, which is a great new feature, and some other items. So that's what we're going to be covering. Today, what we're going to do is we're actually going to hold off on all comments and questions and everything else until the very end, because at the very end, we're going to open it up for a Q&A session. So we have this scheduled to go from, for me here on the West Coast, from 3 to 4 p.m. It's going to last 1 hour with an additional 30 minutes of Q&A session at the end. So that said, Randy, you want to go ahead and start off with a general update?
Hey, Thomas, I think that was his general update.
I guess that was Randy's general update. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And I noticed we got Mike Tyndall back. Mike, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Mike Tyndall? Nope. All right. I'm just jumping right into it. All right. Off to a great start here. So,
Can I just say that, you know, Mike, I'm thinking maybe he's having some problems technically speaking. So let's just say that Mike is our national training manager. I introduced myself earlier before as Earl Harrison, but I did not say that I am actually working in an official capacity as Thomas's Midwest counterpoint as or counterpart as a regional sales manager here in the lovely state of Minnesota.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Earl. And we also have Chris. Chris is in support, and he is joining us as well. He's a bit of an unexpected surprise to have with us today, but we're glad to have him. And Chris, if you wanted to say hi, now's your chance. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen. And let's go ahead and pull that out of the way here. I'm going to go ahead and open up my Polaris. Earl, would you do me a favor and let me know how my speech is on my Polaris?
Voice on. Notepad N. Voice volume 9.
There we go.
That's better. Nice.
Better?
File manager F.
Excellent. All right, so for those of you that are sighted, I'm going to be sharing my Polaris screen, and I'm going to be talking about a few different things here. First of all, if you're joining us today, you're interested in the Polaris or the Polaris firmware, and what we have done, we have released it already, and so it is available immediately. If you have a Polaris or if you have a Polaris Mini, you can go get that right now. So first thing that we're going to do that I'm going to talk about is checking your existing firmware version. So if you have a Polaris, you want to press F1 to get on the main menu, and then you're going to want to press space with the letter V as in Victor.
BrailleSense Polaris SW there 3.4. Build 20,200,825. Reverend 5. 3222 40450 static box.
All right. So pressing space with V, the letter V at the same time, it's going to give me the build number and the revision number. Now, for those of you that
File manager F.
For those of you that have a Polaris, if you want to do an update, there are two ways you could do it. The first way is to do it online. So you're going to want to make sure you're connected to the internet, and you're going to want to make sure that you're plugged into power. First step is you're going to want to go into utilities by pressing the letter U.
Calculator C.
And then you can go ahead and press the letter U again to upgrade.
Upgrade. Online combo box.
Right now it says online combo box. I could choose online, or if I press space, it will change it to offline.
Offline combo box.
Pressing space again will change it back to online.
Online combo box.
And if you have an online firmware update, pressing enter right now would begin to download the firmware update and then install it. And depending on your internet speed, it could take a little bit of time, and your Polaris will reboot and start off again, I believe, at the getting started section, if I'm correct. And that's how you go ahead and do it online. Offline is going to be somewhat similar. However, you're going to download the firmware file to either an SD card or a USB, and you're going to place that into the Polaris, and you're going to choose offline.
Offline combo box.
And then simply press enter. Now, if you're wondering where do you find that information, you can actually go directly to the HIMSS website. So if you go to hims-inc.com, and if you're using the menus, it'll be under the support menu. There is a downloads submenu. And if you click the downloads option, there's also a BrailleSense Polaris link that you're going to click. And from the BrailleSense Polaris link, you're going to have the option to download the firmware update, the user manual, the release notes, and the announcement, all of which are great information to have. In addition to that webpage, we also have the ability, or we give you the ability to download different voices for the Polaris and the Polaris Mini. And just to note, whenever I'm talking about the Polaris, I'm also referring to the Polaris Mini in general. All right, so let's talk about that. So a couple things that we wanted to talk about with the Polaris specifically that you're probably most interested in. I'm going to go ahead and press Z chord to get out of this upgrade option.
Upgrade BrailleSense Polaris firmware U.
Press F1 to get home.
File manager F.
All right, so what did we do in this new firmware? Why do you care? Well, the first thing we did was we squashed some bugs. You know, every firmware, we have some issues and whatnot, but in this one, we squashed a couple bugs. But more importantly, we added a lot of great functionality to it, and we made the Polaris behave as you would hope that you would want it to behave. So, we've really improved on things like math, especially. We've done a lot of stuff with math. We've added a lot of great new features into the support side of things as well. So what that means is that we're going to have the ability to help you better, including giving you the option to create screenshots and to record video along with log files. And you're going to be able to collect that information and pass it along directly to our support team. We've also added the ability to uninstall non-Polaris apps directly from the main menu. We're going to give you the option to launch apps from links in an email, and Earl's going to talk about that a little bit more in depth a little bit later on. So that's kind of a quick highlight of some of the things that we've added in here. I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder because Mike and Earl are going to talk about some of this a little bit later on. What I'm going to talk to you about now is if you happen to be an educator that is working with students with distance education, one of the things that we have found is that the Polaris's Google Drive integration has become an invaluable tool to administer classwork and assignments. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you really quickly. So I am on my Polaris and I am a file manager. I'm going to simply press enter.
Flash disk 1 2 list item.
All right. And from here, I'm going to be able to scroll down to Google Drive.
Google Drive 2 2 list item.
And I'll be able to press enter.
Classroom folder 118 list item.
All right, so now I'm inside my actual Google Drive folder. And what you'll notice is it takes a little bit longer than normal than the flash disk to be able to go into. But that's because it's actually pulling all of the resources from Google Drive and syncing up. So saying, hey, are there any additional folders? Are there any additional files that I got to pull to the Polaris? And it syncs up just like you would experience on a Windows computer or a Mac or any other mainstream device. Unlike a mainstream device, this Google Drive integration that we have built and improved upon utilizes a lot of note-taker functionality. So we're going to be able to use first letter navigation and the common keystrokes that you're accustomed to in the file manager, but you're actually going to be working directly within Google Drive. So in short, if you're a teacher, my recommendation is you create a class for, or create a folder for one student. In this case, I worked with a student called Bella.
Classwork for Bella folder 218 list item.
I'm going to go ahead and press enter here.
English class folder 19 list item.
All right, and she's got an English class, a math class, and a whole bunch of other things in here. So I'm going to be able to jump to math class by pressing the letter M.
Math class folder 79 list item.
And I'll be able to press enter here.
Math 201 assignment docs 11 list item.
And here happens to be a Math 201 assignment. I noticed that it's a file because it ends with .docx. And the great thing about the Polaris with Google Drive integration is you can simply press enter on this docx file, and it's going to open it up directly on the Polaris word processor.
One objects copied. Math 201 assignment docs 11 list item. Loading. Math 201 assignment docs open.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about math. Happen to have this math assignment open. I'm going to be able to scroll down with space and .4.
Blank. Here's a sample math assignment.
Scroll down again.
Blank. X equal open fraction 1 over 5 close fraction plus 2y negative 3x.
Okay, so I've got an equation that says x equals 1/5 plus 2y minus 3x. And one of the great things that we have done as part of this firmware is we've actually made it quite a bit easier to do math, to recognize math. And so this came as a request from an excellent beta tester that we had. And let me give you a little bit of background. When a person creates a document, a docx file in Microsoft Word, he or she will have the ability to add math into that Word document natively. So for example, you could type a paragraph of text, press enter to do a line break, And then in Microsoft Word, if you press Alt and the equal sign together on your keyboard, it puts it into math mode, and then you could type an equation. So for example, you could type the equation that I have listed here directly in Microsoft Word. If you press enter again, do a line break, it goes back into regular text mode, and you can continue to write. And in fact, it's very similar to how we do math on the Polaris. Well, one of the great things we have done in this firmware update is if you are sighted, you'll be able to see this at the bottom of my screen, but you'll notice the cursor shape has changed. So if you have your cursor set to always on or to blinking, you'll notice that there are going to be dots 7 and dot 8 that are either going to always be up or they're going to be blinking to indicate the cursor position. Well, what we've done is we've changed the cursor shape to only dot 8 when it is in math mode. And so if you're sighted, go ahead and pay attention to the bottom left hand of my screen. I'm going to scroll down again. And it says, here is your next question. And you'll notice that the cursor has dots 7 and 8. If I scroll down to the next equation,
Blank. 2x plus 3 equal y.
You'll notice this is math because the cursor is just dot 8. Now, another great thing about this is I'm going to go ahead and save this just by pressing Enter S. Oops, actually there's nothing here. Let me go ahead and, so it's 2x plus 3 equals y. Let me go ahead and delete that y. Let me just go number sign 5. So I've got 2x plus 3 equals 5. Now I could go ahead and save this by pressing enter in the letter S, and that will simply save the document. Additionally, if I go ahead and close it with space in the letter Z as in zebra.
Math 201 assignment doc save. Yes prompt button.
And it says, do I want to save it? And I click enter for yes.
Saving. Save complete.
Now, what's happening?
Uploading. 0.
Let's give just a
100 Math
moment.
201 is done 1 files uploaded. Math 201 assignment docs 1 list item. Classroom folder 118 list item.
All right, so a lot of stuff happened there when I did a Z chord to close a Word document as normal. I said, do I want to save? And I pressed enter for yes, which is normal. But some unusual things happened there. And what it did was it saved the file and then it uploaded it back into Google Drive. Well, now if you're the teacher, you'll be able to open up that document and see the changes that the student has made directly into that exact document. So it is probably the single easiest way if you're going to be administering classwork through distance education to get your students ready to go. You could give them their reading assignments, their homework assignments, everything directly through Google Drive. All right. So I think that's about it for talking about education. So we talked about the Google Drive, we talked about math. It's easier, it's better than ever. So how about next we go on with Mike. Mr. Tyndall, are you ready to go? And I think we may have lost Mike permanently. Earl, what do you think?
Maybe so. Do you see him here?
I do see him, but he is muted. Oh, he says he's showing up as a participant. Here we go. I see what's going on. Maybe. Huh?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you had to unmute yourself.
So by the power invested in Thomas would not allow me earlier to unmute myself, and I kept trying, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't allow it because he has all the power. And so I just sent him a text and said, unmute me. But it is great to be here this afternoon, this evening. And great job, Thomas, on all of those math things that you just showed in Google Drive. You know, the real beauty there is that teachers and students can use Google Drive without having to learn how to navigate the Google Classroom app. The Google Classroom app does work. However, it runs on the Polaris, but it's much easier if you just do it through Google Drive, as you just showed. One thing I do want to add, when Thomas was talking about updating your Polaris offline, this is in the documentation, but when you download an update to update offline, you have to create a folder on the root of your flash disk called OS Update. And you place your file in there, and then you can update the machine, but you have to create that folder first. So I just wanted to point that out. Quickly, a few things before I start talking about the things I'm going to show you. This may be a repeat for some of you who's been joining us of late for webinars and that kind of thing. But for those of you who we've not been in contact with since maybe January of this year, I do want to mention that as probably everyone by now knows, in technical support, Jim Walton's been with us now again for over a year, about a year and a half. And in March of this year, we brought on Chris Brennenberg. He actually moved to Austin from Oregon. I had the privilege of training him when he first started, and he is doing a fantastic job in support. So if you call in and you have not spoken with Chris, you will enjoy that experience, as well as with Jim. They're both doing a fantastic job. Also want to mention, as Randy said earlier, things are moving along in Austin. If callback is a little bit delayed, be patient with us. We're using different phone systems than we have in the past and all of those things. So be patient with us as we work through that. Last thing I'll mention, I wear many hats at HIMSS, one being a national training manager, and I help out with sales. And for the last week and a half, I've actually helped out doing support. So some of you who have called in, I'm sure I've spoken to you over the last week. And I just want to mention, we've been getting a lot of phone calls from customers about Gmail accounts not working. This happened to me, so I'm going to just throw it out there and tell you, before you call tech support, what I would like you to do is to go into your Google account on a computer and make sure the feature is turned on there called Use Less Secure Apps. There are times that Google, for whatever reasons, just deciding that they'll go disable it. If they disable it, your Gmail account will not work. So you want to make sure that that is turned on. The easiest way to get there is to go to myaccount.gmail.com/less secure app. And that will take you right to the page where you go re-enable that feature. So based on that, one of the things that we have done with this release, as Thomas briefly mentioned, is we are allowing for some screenshots as well as for some logs to be created and for some screen recordings. I'm going to show you that. So what I'm doing at the moment is I am going to
voice on. Button OK, press the enter key to run. Start share. Share. Button enter key to select. Participants enter key to select. More. Button enter key to select. Current view is active speaker. Double tap to hide toolbar. Start my video, enter key to select. Share. Button enter key to select. Microsoft OneDrive. Button Microsoft OneDrive, enter key to select. Button Google Drive, enter key to select. Button Box, enter key to select. Button Photo, enter key to select. Button Document, enter key to select. Button Web URL, enter key to select. Button Screen, enter key to select.
There we go.
Zoom.
So I'm not sharing my screen. For those of you who are sighted, I could have pressed S to get the screen faster, but I kept tabbing for some reason. I'm not sure why I did that, but we're going to press F1 and go to File Manager.
File Manager, F.
And oftentimes when we're running software and when we're running beta software, as well as released software, it's important for developers sometimes to get information that will help us fix bugs that are going on. And so a few things that we can do to capture that data is do a screenshot. So for example, we may need to just see a screenshot of something that you're doing. And the way that we do that is we press F4 with the letter S as in Sam. And you heard that. So what that actually did was snap a picture, and we now have a screenshot of my file manager there. Again, F4 with S. You hear that?
Screenshot 20200910172905.png file saved. File manager F.
And it saved the file. And these files are being saved in my music folder. That's where they go. Another thing that we can create is a video, which is a screen recording. And so what that will do is it will allow me to move around, and as I do things, it will capture the audio on my device, or the screen model of my device. So if I press F4 and the letter R,
Start screen recording.
start screen recording. So now if I do it up for record,
Word processor W. Notepad N. Email E. Exchange email L.
I'll stop the screen recording there, as I just got a screen recording of myself scrolling down the menu. I will do F4 with R.
Start screen recording. Polaris launcher.
And F4 with R will stop that recording. Can you guys still hear me? There
Yep.
you are. There we are. So those are two of the features that we have there. And then the last thing I'll quickly talk about is a file log feature. And that allows us to actually capture data, even if the Polaris were to some reason reboot because you're doing something that you know can crash the machine. F4 with L will start and stop a system log. And if you need to create these different logs, tech support will walk you through it. So one of the ways to create the screen recording, again, is F4 with R as a toggle. F4 with L is how you create the logs. The logs are saved in their own folder called log data. The screenshots and the screen recordings are saved in your music folder. Last thing I quickly want to mention.
It seems Mike has left us on a cliffhanger here.
Yes.
So, Mike, if you can hear me, you can make it back my way. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with my part. And if you need to break back in, do so. So there are many different types of log files, as Mike mentioned, all with the idea that we will be able to better serve your technical support needs, whether the developers that maybe we report a problem to are requesting you actually going through the motions of doing the things that are causing your system to crash, so they can. It's amazing. There are times where I have actually reported a problem, provided a screen recording or log files or a combination of them, and they're 14 hours ahead of us in Korea, and you wake up the next day and they've knocked out the problem, and you've got a new build of the test version there. So it's really amazing what they can figure out based on these log files. So it's a very, very powerful tool that they have. There are different logs that you can generate. There's the kind that you just generate. You stop and start the logging process, and then you can just go ahead and go in and send the log on its way to whoever's requesting it, whether it's support or somebody from our development staff. And the one that I'm pretty excited about is if you encounter a crash, you can start the logging process, do the things that have caused the crash. As soon as your system reboots, you can end the logging process, so they can go all the way through the reboot process and see what caused the crash to begin with and what's happening when the system is restarted. So just a couple things. There are so many things when you guys install this upgrade, if you haven't already, you will end up in a changes file, basically a document that talks about all the things that will just make your head spin, and you'll read this list and you say, yeah, well, yeah, who cares, who cares, who cares? Lots of bug fixes, lots of stability enhancements, but one of the coolest features, aside from the logging and the new stuff with the math, is the ability to actually launch you can actually click on a link from within an email message and launch the default app. The first time you do it, it'll ask you, oh, okay, so you're clicking on this link. What app do you want to use? And you just select, for example, if it's a YouTube video that you clicked on, you select that, and then you tab over. You get the option to do it just this one time, or the option that I've exercised is the option to do it every time you encounter this type of link. So let me go ahead, go into my email app here on Polaris.
Getting new message list.
All right, I'm not sure what account I'm in.
Unread subject. I read from Alice Loma, Loma BV. Unread subject. Blind ads. Giving away a my charge talking portable power bank.
All right, so I'm in my personal
hotmail.com
account. And the first thing I'm going to show is a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine sent me a link to a bunch of Russian guys who are playing songs by, it's a huge band playing songs by Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago, and arguably doing it better than the original artists themselves. So since I'm in this long list of email messages, and as soon as I got into the application, it refreshed my list because I'm on IMAP, which means that when I delete things from my Polaris, it deletes it everywhere on all my devices. Basically, it's out on the web. So I'm going to go ahead and do a search.
Find dialog. Text define. Edit box.
And I'm just going to look for the word Russian. SSIAN. I'm so embarrassed. I'm a terrible speller.
Subject. Check out this bunch of Russians doing Chicago.
All right.
From Paul Spencer 528
So,
email.com date. Thursday,
check out
August
this
6th,
bunch of Russian
2020,
guys
8 p.m. to
doing
message
Chicago.
body. HTTP.
And the only thing that's in here that he sent from his iPad is this link to this YouTube video. And I'm going to go ahead and press you may remember that the command to click a link before was just Enter L. So I'm going to add backspace to that, and it's going to use the default program to
Library, note
launch,
YouTube. Video player, enter key to select.
which of course is YouTube.
Lift up your eyes upon this
Button minimize, enter key to
And
select.
I hear, because I'm too cheap, I'm too cheap to subscribe to YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and press the S.
List saved to playlist, enter key to select. List saved to playlist, enter key to select. List save button download, press the enter key to run.
Parker here from the Motley Fool.
Button download, press the enter key.
I'm trying to go to the skip ad button.
Skip it, enter key.
There it is. All right, so I'm
Video player,
skip
enter
the
key to
ad,
select.
and I'm now playing this video by these Russian guys who are like ultra tight, ultra amazing musicians. And if I want to, I can press I can actually use, this is something actually new in this version as well. I'll press and hold the pause button for a couple of seconds here. 1, 2, and because the switch on my front panel is set to apps mode, these standard multimedia functions do work. So I can resume playback. I can actually use first letter navigation. It's like, I don't want to hear that song.
Button next video, enter
So
key
I
to select.
just press the N, letter N to go to the next video. I press enter on that.
Video player, enter key to select.
And
Button
here we
minimize, enter
go.
key to select.
2506, what's it called? 25064. One of those things. Course P for pause.
Button previous video, enter key to select. Button pause video, enter key to select.
Press enter on that as well. So you have the option of either using the front panel buttons when your selector switch is all the way to the left, which puts you in app mode, or you can just use first letter navigation and the keys on the top panel.
Hey, Earl, would you mind if I interrupt you real quick? Would you mind sharing your screen?
Oh my gosh, did I forget to do that? Oh, okay. I'm gonna do that right now, Thomas. Thanks for the interruption. I try to be sensitive to the needs of the sighted, but sometimes I fall a little short. How's that? Do you see me?
Looking good.
All right. So if I press the play button again, do you just get the audio component, Thomas? Not the.
No, I see it too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That is so darn cool. I love that.
And actually, just to let you know, I have been able to cast to my smart TV from YouTube before using my Polaris.
Yes.
So,
and if you just plug into the HDMI cable and output into a smart TV, and it's a wonderful way of doing it too. But hey, I digress. Listen to. Waiting for the break of day. I don't know. I don't detect much of an accent there at all. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go back to my
25464 Chicago. Me and friends over. Task name Chrome.
Back to my email.
Task name email. Message body https yahoo.b.
I'm going to bail out of this message.
Subject. Check out this bunch of Russians. Close button.
Close that.
Account, unread subject. 3.
I'm going to go to my work account.
Mailbox. Inbox 122. Account name. Google 1 to list item. Work 2 to list item. Receiving mailboxes.
And I'm just going to my work account and
mailbox. Inbox 124. Getting new message list.
Like a lot of you,
account unread subject.
Before this presentation started, I got a reminder. There's usually a 24-hour reminder that we're doing a webinar, and then there's one an hour before. So I got one an hour, now a couple hours ago.
Unread subject. New purchase order.
Subject. Oh, new purchase order. We love
September
that.
End. Subject. Reminder. New Polaris firmware introduction starts.
There it
subject.
is.
Subject. Reminder. New Polaris firmware introduction starts. Message body. Hi, Hems Incorporated. This is a reminder that new Polaris firmware introduction will begin in 1 hour on daytime, September 10th, 2020.
Okay, so I'm in the body of the message. I'm just going to go ahead and just basically scroll down through the documents here.
Zip Canada. New paragraph.
I'm using space F4 because I'm a legacy keystroke kind of guy. Keystrokes that come way back from the Braille and Speak days. You remember those?
Join from a PC, Mac, iPhone, or Android device.
Right.
New paragraph. Click here to join.
Click here to join. It's as simple as that. Now I'm going to press Enter, backspace L for link.
Web view.
And
connecting.
You
are using the device audio. Current view is share. Double tap to hide toolbar. You are using the device audio.
Okay, so Thomas, double
tap to hide toolbar.
I'm going to go ahead and bail out of this.
File manager F.
There you go.
Because we're getting some weird feedback loop.
File manager.
And I'm going to press a keystroke that's going to literally kill all the apps running on my Polaris right now.
Close all apps. File manager F.
Boom. I'm gone. I'm out of there. I've closed every app that I just had open with one keystroke from the main menu. That was Enter, space with the letter D. It closes all apps. So if you find yourself in a panic situation, and that could have been so much worse, where you've got a feedback loop, you can just press that keystroke and it just basically bails out of all your running apps. I love it.
So, Earl, you mind if I interrupt real quick?
Again?
So the reason that you're getting the feedback is because when you pressed backspace enter L from that link, what it did is it opened up the Zoom app and then logged you into the meeting right away. So that's why you're getting that feedback. And that's how convenient it is, right? You just press that one keystroke and you were right in that meeting.
I mean, I just get, you guys, I get gushy about this stuff because the Polaris is such a joy to use. You know, people give us a hard time because we're using an older version of Android. And yes, with some things like Bard Mobile, you do have to download an APK version, kind of silo these different versions of some apps. But the point there is that once you do that and you log in, it's done and it works really well. But the functionality that has been built into the Polaris, all the math stuff, the Google Drive integration, which really streamlines, Google anything, because now you don't have to flounder around and within a Google app like Docs or the actual app. You just browse to where you need to go, and you're not at the mercy of Google to because they make changes and they don't tell people that there's going to be changes, and one day you wake up and it might still be accessible, but it's completely different. So and now this new functionality with being able to launch default applications right from within an email message is such a time saver as well. So I just have to take my hats off to the folks over there in Korea, and I would say that this is arguably really the best note-taking device on the market, and I know, and I played with them all. So that's what I got. That was my gushing over the Polaris, and I put my money where my mouth is, because I actually own one of these things myself. I don't just show the company's stuff.
All right, so Mike, you've got your hand raised, and I'm clicking ask to unmute. So you should be able to unmute yourself. Well, folks, we are having technical difficulties.
I am here. So I'm not, can you hear me, Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not sure where I actually cut out at the end of what I was saying, but what's the last thing you heard me say? Do you guys remember, Thomas? You remember the last thing you heard?
You were talking about the login features and things like that, and I actually went on and covered that the rest of the
Yeah, okay, good. So the last thing that I want to mention that maybe Earl did or did not cover, but if he did, it'll be a good review. If you want to see the release notes of this and any other HIMS release moving forward, the command to see them is F2, F3 with the letter R. It will come up with a version number, and if you press the tab key, it'll show you all of the release notes for that release. And then pressing tab again will allow you to save the document if you want to put it in your documents folder. But if you do not want to save it, you can always go out with a Z cord to close it, and then F2, F3R will bring it up again for you. So a lot of the things that we're showing today, we've talked about a lot of keystrokes that are in those release notes. There are some other features that we did not cover. So make sure that you press F2, F3 with the letter R and take a look at those release notes. Another thing just quickly to mention before I give it back to Thomas is that after you update your machine, when you get to the main menu, press space, enter backspace with the letter F. And that will just make sure that you're running all of the latest Android apps. It'll refresh everything for you. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much, Mike. All right. So we are a little bit ahead of schedule. So I think what we should do, unless Mike, Earl, or Randy, you guys disagree, I think we should just open it up for the Q&A at this point in time. So for those of you that are attending, if you have a question, raise your hand. Or if you're on a phone, Mike, do you remember what that, Mike or Earl, do you remember?
If you are on a phone, you want to press *9 to raise your hand. If you're on a computer, you want to press Alt-Y. If you're on an iPhone, down at the bottom of your screen, if you put your finger down there, you'll scroll left and right. There'll be a More button. Tap that and then flick right to raise hand and press Enter. Or double tap. Sorry. Double tap with one finger.
All right. So first up, we have Byron. Byron, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Greetings.
Hey, Byron.
Hi, Byron.
It works. Amazing. On the screen /logging programs and events and things so that other people can understand what it's doing and why it won't work and whatever. How do you then send those things to them? You have to do an email and attach files or folders rather, or how's that done?
You would actually do that, yes. But what would happen, you don't really necessarily want to create a log unless tech support asks you to do it, unless you know for sure that, we're going to want it. If it's something that you can readily reproduce and you want to show that to us, then what I would recommend is that you press F4L to start your log. And even if it causes your machine to have to reboot, it'll come up, it'll still be logging. Enter with, or F4L again will stop the log when you're done, and you could send that to tech support, but I would not just send the log. Talk to them, explain to them what's going on so that they're not just receiving a log and they're not going to be sure what to do with it.
Sure. Now, Ali with MoTweet was wanting me to show him some things, and I didn't know how to do that, and that's why I was asking. So, yeah, that should work. Okay. I thought I had another question, and it must be, but it won't come to mind, so I'll go away.
Good to see you, Byron.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Up next, we have phone number ending in 5292. 5292, you should be able to go. There you go.
Hello. I have a question. Actually, I guess I have two questions. One of them, and I talked to Mike about this, but I'd like to review it. I'm assuming if you want to click on a link, that's only if you're doing it in an Android app. Is that correct? And if you want to click on a link and it's in an email, how do you do that?
So what I was showing here is that clicking on a link from within the HIMS email application. So I just opened up the email, for example, that the one from the guy, the friend of mine who wanted me to hear these Russian guys. I just simply navigated down to the link, and I could, from anywhere within that link, press enter backspace L, and it just the first time it launches, it's going to ask me, oh, what do you want to use? Well, I knew it was a YouTube video, so I selected YouTube as the app, and then I tabbed a couple of times, and I said, always use this app. And that is why when I did it this time in front of all of you, it just automatically launched YouTube and started playing the ads. Or maybe you're lucky enough to go directly to the video without the ads.
Okay. What I wanted to know was, I don't use Android at this point. I haven't had training in it, and I don't know what I'm doing. But will that work? Say I get an email from someone and they put a link in, or there's a place that says, click here, and the next thing is a blank, or it's just, there's supposedly a link, but it's a blank line on my Polaris.
So
what do I do?
Let me explain that the email app that I'm using and that to demonstrate is actually developed by him. So forget anything having to do with Android. This is something that people get stuck on. Oh, I'm not good at using Android. You're not actually using Android, you're using an app that is very specifically developed for use by people who are, maybe coming over from previous iterations of the BrailleSense note taker, and now they're on the Polaris. All the commands that we're using within our apps are commands that have been around for a very long time. So it has nothing to do with the operating system, which is the Android platform, Android operating system. It just has everything to do with knowing how to get to an email message, knowing how to open the message within the HIMS application, and then when you find that link, knowing that pressing enter backspace L is going to launch whatever default application you have associated with that type of file. I can, so if it's a Zoom video, your Polaris is going to know, oh, okay, so it's clicked on a Zoom link, so they want to use the Zoom application. Of course, you need, at that point, you do need to go into Play Store and download the Zoom app, which is an Android app. So at that point, you would need to be somewhat concerned, but really, using an Android app, there's just really 4 things that you really have to know how to do. You have to know how to tab, press the enter key to when it prompts you to, for example, press enter to edit. Check a check box, press enter to check a check box. So we're just tabbing around, pressing the enter key when it's appropriate, and typing in to edit fields when it's appropriate. And that's really the sum and substance of what it takes to get around within an Android app. And if you think I'm blowing smoke, Mike or Thomas, let me know, because that's been my experience. Those are all the things I ever do when I'm using an Android application. But
no, you're actually not, Earl. That is absolutely correct. One thing I just want to add there is, Allison, when you heard Earl's computer, when he was reading that email, it said click here, but you did not hear anything about HTTP/whatever, because that's not a physical link. But when you hear it say click here, you stop there, because that is the physical link, and you do enter backspace L. And in my case, for example, because I don't always associate programs, I had 2 choices. Do I want to use Zoom or do I want to use Chrome? Well, I knew that I was joining a Zoom meeting, and so I selected Zoom, and then I tabbed, and I have 2 choices: just once or always. Now, if I chose always, every time I saw a Zoom link, it would just go there. But, I may want to open it up in Chrome for some reason, just to have a look at settings or something. And so, but you've got the choice, and it will ask you what app you want to use. So, it's just a matter of going into your email program, finding the link or where it says click here, and then press enter backspace L on that link. It's just that simple.
And once you tell it what app you want to use, it just remembers it.
Yep.
Okay, so in other words, I don't have to go into the browser.
Not at all.
I don't have to email in the browser.
That's the whole beauty of it. It just doesn't. It just takes you to the default app that it would use to launch. And of course, YouTube is already on the Polaris when you get it.
Yeah. So now, I don't have Chrome on my Polaris. I don't have a Gmail account. Do I have to have one?
Well, you have Chrome on your Polaris because it's there by default. So you have it. You just don't use it. You may not even know it's there, but you have it because it's a native part of the operating system.
So
we do recommend that you use our web browser, which is our web browser that you get to by pressing the letter B, and our web browser.
And in answer to your question, do you need a Google account? I think that is, in order to really make the best use of the Polaris, the answer to that would be yes, because without a Google account or a Gmail account, if you set up a Gmail account, then there you are. You have a Google account. Without one, you can't even download apps from the Play Store.
Right.
Okay. My other question is, and I talked with you about this, Mike, and it happened again. Sometimes when I try to send an email, it will say unable to send or failed to send. And we got it to work yesterday. Mike and I, we worked at this, and I had the same thing happen last night when I was sending an email, and I saved it it was in the outbox, and I tried to send it again, and it went. And I don't understand why sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't.
All right, let me talk about one thing that we did not talk about yesterday, and I would recommend for all of you out there to maybe play with this and do it. there have been times where sometimes the internet can just drop your connection and you may not even know that it happened. And if it happens, you will not be able to send email because you're not connected to the internet at that point. So what I would recommend, and this is just, you can experiment with it, but go into settings, choose set up internet. You're going to go down to wireless connection, press enter on that. Wireless LAN 2 of 2, press enter. Press tab to get to your option, press enter there. And then if you scroll down, the second choice is going to say channel, and it's typically set to auto. Press space until you get to 2 megahertz. Press enter on that and see if that will stabilize your connection, because sometimes if you're trying to connect between a 2 gigahertz and a 5 gigahertz router, it just kind of can stabilize things a little bit. So I would recommend trying that, because that could be something. Another thing that would help, and this is again where those log functions are going on, is that if you have a email and you just can't send it and you know that you have a stable internet connection, that would be a thing where we would have you create a log and physically show us what's going on.
Okay, that answers my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. You have a great day.
You too.
All right. Thank you very much. And let's go ahead and do that. And up next, we have Shireen. Shireen, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sharon, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been since convention, I think.
Hi.
That's right.
It took me a little time to unmute.
You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. So there were a couple of little things that have come up. First of all, the whole Google Drive thing sounds great, but I've never actually used Google Drive before, and I think I tell it to sign in. I think I have signed in, but I haven't really successfully signed in. Little things like this that really are not appropriate to take a whole lot of time on this webinar about the awesome update to talk about. Does HIMSS offer either training sessions, or is this a situation where we should not be ashamed to call tech support and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you
All right, here's the deal.
educate me? How do I?
Let me go here.
Okay.
If you have a problem in your case, this particular thing that you just said to me, you're having a problem signing into Google Drive. Okay, that is an incident. That means you're having an issue doing it. Either A, because you don't know how, or B, maybe because something is going on. At that point, you need to call tech support. Tell them that you're having a problem signing into Google Drive. Technical support will try to help you sign in to Google Drive. But before you call them, of course, and I'm speaking to everyone, not just you, know your password, know your credentials, so that when you call, they can help you do that. If you have questions on how do I do something, and it's not because something isn't working, it's simply how do I do it, that's when training is an option for you. And if you do want training, we do provide that service. You could give us a call. I would recommend probably call our sales line, and Thomas or Earl or myself, whoever's doing sales calls that particular moment when you call, will take your information and talk to you about, an hour or 2 or 3 or ever how much training that you want. And it's at that point where we will train you on doing things that you want to do. So there is a fine line between how do I and I don't know how to. And in tech support, we can help you when things aren't working as we expect them to work. and we can show you how to do something and maybe help you if you're doing something wrong to quickly fix something, but we can't, for example, stay on the phone with you and show you how to send email and show you how to share a Google Drive and show you how to do all, because that's where it's then becoming a training issue. And it is a fine line between what is training and what is tech support.
And there's a difference between my silly machine's not working right and I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
And again, you make a call. Is it that I don't know what I'm doing? If that's the case, you need training. If you feel that it's the machine that is truly not doing something correctly and you think it's the machine's fault, that's when you call tech support and have them try to help you fix it. And if they can do that, then you're good to go. But if it's I don't know how to, that is training.
Yeah.
And it never hurts to call tech support if you're not doing something and it's not working right for you. It never hurts for you to call tech support and talk to somebody about it. And then you and they determine, do you need training or is this truly a technical issue that we need to fix? And technical support knows the avenues of how to get you training.
Okay.
All right. Wonderful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sharon.
All right. Okay, so up next we have caller 7012. 7012, you are up.
There you go.
Okay, this is Joan Guy from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hi, Joan.
And how you doing? I'd like to know the basic training. I mean, if I could get an hour of training, how much would that be?
So we charge $65 an hour for training.
Okay.
Typically, I'm the person that would be doing that for you. So again, you would just call the HIMS number and we would schedule something. And there you go.
Okay. What's that new device you all got going? There's a new device y'all advertising. They're going to be talking about it. It's a new Braille device. HIMS got.
No, we don't have a new device. The newest device that we've released is the Kubril XL.
Oh, what is it? It's a new note taker?
No, it's not a note taker. It's basically a Braille display that has modifier keys on it. So it has things like Alt, Windows, Tab, all your Windows keys, your modifier keys. So for example, if you want to close a program, it's real easy. You press Alt F4. If you want to run a dialog to open a program, you hold down the left Windows key and you press the letter R in Braille. So what that simply does is it removes all the, what 45 keys do I press on my Braille display to make this command happen?
Oh, okay.
Takes all that away.
Okay, now, and say for instance, if I get an email and it tells you to if you want to unsubscribe, like on the computer, you could unsubscribe by clicking on unsubscribe, and it goes to the.
So that is a point where again you could press Enter backspace L, and it would bring you up to the web page where you would then go on the website to unsubscribe from that email.
Okay. All right. That's a good thing.
Well, thank you, Joan.
All right. Thank you very much. Up next, we have John Sanfilippo. John, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
I have just two questions. Are we working?
You're working.
Okay, that's not one of my questions. Now that you have the calculator, does the calculator actually do I don't mean calculator. Now that you have math, or you've always had math, but now that it's improved, can you actually get results within a file?
You want that old O chord K calculate line feature that was in the Braille Speak years ago,
and which is in fact in the Braille Edge, although it's done differently. It's R chord or something like that.
I have not tested that recently. Earl, have you tested that feature?
I have not. You know what I generally do with your basic equations, I'll use the scientific calculator, and then if I want to put that into a document, I'll press Enter H from within the calculator, which would bring me to my history. And the last calculation that I did is selected, so I'll just copy it and move over to my word processor and do the space command, and it just inserts it into my document. That's how I've been going about that.
I really like the idea that it was so completely seamless. You just type a small equation and it would be calculated, and that was it right there in the editor. The other question I have is, I'm coming from the Braille Edge, and capital C is just C with dot 7 when I want to write in text. And I can't tell you how many lines I've clobbered because dot 7 and C just erases a line. And so I'm wondering if these commands are user definable, and if the command to erase a line can have the space added to it, like most commands are. Most commands have spacebar added to them. You get what I'm asking?
So
I do, and I like it. The answer to your question right now is no, but I do like the question, and I think it's a good idea. So what I will do is bring it up to the powers that be, and I think that what you're saying makes sense.
Thank you. That's it. Yeah, I enjoyed your presentation, and thank you very much. Ciao.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. All right, up next we have phone number 2501. If your number ends in 2501, you're up.
Hi, I have two questions. This is Maureen, and one question is, whenever I try to get on Zoom, it connects, and I'm usually in a meeting for work, and it stays on for about 5 minutes, and then it drops the connection. And I'm wondering if that's maybe that 2G thing that I need to check.
Yeah, so I know what's going on.
So that was one question. And then the other question is, when I went to install the update, I did it online, and it was doing the percentages, and I left it for, oh golly, I want to say like an hour, and came back, and it was only at 8%. Is it supposed to take that long? And then now if I want to do it again, because I had to stop it then because I needed the Polaris, is that going to be a problem if I try to do it again because it started already?
So can I answer both of your questions?
Take it away, Earl.
Sure.
So in answer to your first question, my guess is you're sitting there and you're partaking in this Zoom meeting just fine, and all of a sudden it goes away. My guess is you're on battery, and my further guess is that I'm guessing it's probably 10 minutes, because that's the default time of inactivity, because you're not doing anything on the Polaris. You're just sitting and waiting, and you're listening. But the Polaris, as far as it knows, is nothing's happened on this thing. It doesn't know that a video is streaming to the device. So it just, nothing's happened, so I'm just going to go to sleep. So that's what's going on there. What you can do to lengthen that time is you go on your global options with space O, and then you can go down to power management and basically extend sleep mode, and extend the time that it takes to go to sleep to 30 minutes. And sometime in that 30 minutes, it helps if you just press a key, whether it be, you're still in Zoom, you can press any key, the scroll key, you can press anything so it detects that there's some activity going on during that 30-minute time period. And in your case, it's 10 minutes right now until you change it. And then it's also worth noting that if you plug in the Polaris, it becomes a non-issue. If it's on AC power, it's not sensitive to the idea that you're draining your battery. You're just running on AC power, so you don't have to worry about the timing out and going to sleep.
Okay. Yeah, it's because it has always been on battery.
Funny because we discovered that when I had a business associate who was supposed to be a presenter, and he's talking away, and all of a sudden, because he's on battery, and all of a sudden his Polaris goes to sleep, but he's still talking because he doesn't know his Polaris has gone to sleep. In the meantime, everybody else in the presentation has got silence. And so I've had to text them and say, hey, guess what? You're talking, but nobody's hearing you because your Polaris went to sleep. In answer to your second question is, I had that same experience the very first day that the release came out. I tried to do an online update. It took 3 hours because our servers were slammed. Later on, I talked to Mike, and I think he took like 45 minutes to do his. Also, just remember that you're kind of at the mercy of whatever your local internet connection is doing. So if there's an area outage, or maybe if your internet connection is a bit spotty, that's going to influence this as well. So I would venture to guess that if you were to go try it again, and you have a good strong internet connection, and you're not on the day of a release, probably you're going to have a better outcome. It probably won't take as long.
Okay. Yeah, Earl, I do have a question.
It's not going to care that I had started it.
Doesn't matter.
Once.
No.
Okay. Great.
Earl,
thank you.
One thing I want to ask for you, the option that's above the kick-in mode is sleep mode. Is that you can turn it on, off, or message? So she could just totally disable that, right? Just turn it off?
Yeah, I have it off because I listen to a lot of YouTubes, and it was also doing the same thing then, so I turned it off. But it wasn't helping with the Zoom.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you could, and another thing that I'm thinking what may be happening with you, based on both things you've said, is your internet connection. If your internet connection is not, I mean, if it's a little bit slow, or if traffic is heavy, I even had my computer before. I'd be on a meeting and the computer would just all of a sudden say, boop, you're done, and take me off the meeting because of an internet connection. But if you are downloading the update, and let's say that it stops in the middle because or what, and you have to stop it, whatever, while it's downloading, when you restart it, it basically picks up where it left off. The same thing happened to me the first day. It took me like 3 times to update my machine, actually.
And it will pick up exactly where you left off.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I had my internet, I think is stable. I mean, because if I'm at meetings for work on the PC, I've never had to do that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your questions.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. Next we have Tom. Tom, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, you should be able to hear me, right?
Yep, we can.
Okay, hi guys. Thanks a lot for doing this. Quick question, just a little clarification. When you want to click on a link in an email, I know it's enter backspace L, and that is done simultaneously?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay. I'll just have to figure out how to physically do it, but I'm sure I can. So
all your left-hand fingers, so pointer, tall man, ring finger, pinky.
Yep.
Pinky on your right hand, all together. Boom.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Thanks much. That's it. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
All right. So up next, let's see. Phone number ending in 2689. 2689, you are up.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, Couple of questions. Basically, well, first I wanted to comment and thank you for these new commands. I have tried Zoom a couple times now from the Polaris.
Good for you, Shirley.
And that's pretty impressive the way that works. So I wanted to thank you guys for putting that in. I did notice if I go to recent ones, which it saves, then you still have to put in your passcode, and somebody told me that is normal, so I guess it's not just a Polaris thing, but somebody can comment on that if you want. But to the more important stuff, as some of you know, unfortunately, my Polaris was just in for a couple months, and you know, I've had it back for a couple of weeks now, and I did the updates, and I'm having some similar problems, not as frequently, but it's still, you know, doing like resets and things like that, and I can even tell now
Shirley,
almost when it's going to do one.
Let's take this one offline.
Okay,
I
but
got you, but
my
I don't wanna
question
spend-
having to do with that, and I understand that that's not a problem, but what I wanted to know, the reason for going into it is I wanted to understand if you were to do this thing like where you keep a log or something like that, and obviously if you do it when you get the device back on, let's say, is that going to cover what happened like before a reset?
It can go back. It can go back a couple minutes before,
Okay.
depending on issues and depending on what's going on.
Okay.
But where
Okay,
the logs,
that's
where-
fine. I understand that you don't want to go into the real
where the
personal thing, but I
logs
thought
are
that
really-
part of it, that's why I kind of started there.
where the logs are really helpful is, for example, if you know I do step 1, 2, 3, and every time I do step 1, 2, 3, my machine does X, which is something you don't want it to do. That's
Right.
when we definitely want a log. What's more difficult to log and fix, of course, are things that happen spontaneously because we can't predict what's going to happen.
And
those are
on
the
mine, it
harder
is
things to
spontaneous,
fix.
but I can tell it's going to happen. Let me put it that way.
All
But
right,
we can
so
talk
again,
more about that
you
later.
and I can take that offline.
That's fine.
Give me a call, but call me tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay? Because I'm off next week, so call me tomorrow.
Okay. Will you be answering at tech support, or do you want me to reach you a different way?
Reach me a different way. Call me on my
that's
phone
fine.
tomorrow.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. That's fine, because we can address a couple issues, and I'll get out of here and let somebody else take it. I appreciate that. But that was the only reason I brought it up here, was because I wanted to ask about the logging thing.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley.
And like I said, thanks guys for putting this stuff in. That's pretty neat. Also, Jenny had said something about, because I had told her at one point that, you know, it's almost impossible to sign up for these Zoom webinars from the Polaris, and she was going to try to, you know, put together and figure out a way to do that, to get to Chrome and or whatever and sign up that way, since you can't do it through the regular web browser on the Polaris. So I wondered if there was any news on that at all.
No development so far, but that is a good reminder for us to hit her up and see what we can.
Okay. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Sidra. Sidra, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
All right, so I had a couple questions. So when I'm in Zoom meetings on the Polaris, it resets on its own, and it's been doing that for a couple of meetings that I've had today.
That's the time again where you would do that log. So if you know it's going to happen or you hope it's going to happen, press F4 with L before you start your Zoom meeting. Let it do its thing. And then once you've done that, give tech support a call, tell them what happened, tell them that you logged it, and then they will direct you from there.
And may I ask, do you have the latest firmware, the one that was just released?
No, I had the one previous to that.
Okay.
I haven't updated yet.
So when you're using Zoom on your Polaris, do you have it sitting on a desk or is it on your lap when it's happening?
On my lap.
Okay. So that issue's been fixed, actually, in this latest firmware version. So just go ahead and update to the latest version, and I don't think you're going to have that issue anymore.
Yeah, it had to do with the accelerometer, didn't it?
Yeah, so the screen orientation, when it changed, it was causing it to have some issues and crash. So it was the screen orientation issue.
Do the update, yes. It'll
do the update, and that screen orientation issue is gone. Yep.
All right, and then my second question is, when I'm in a Zoom meeting and someone sends a link in the chat box via Zoom, like a Google Doc, how do I go to the link and copy and paste it? Is that possible?
So you would put your cursor at the beginning of the link, and you would do enter with B, and then you would go to the end of the link and do enter with C, and then you could go to your web browser and paste it in the address field.
Oh, when I put my cursor at the beginning of the browser, it doesn't, like, I don't see the cursor there.
You need to route it there. Yeah, you need to try to route it there. But I'm not sure if there's a link. I'm trying to think my way through this. If there's a link in your chat box, are we going to be able to see a physical cursor there?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's when we have
Earl, you have any thoughts?
That's when we have to look into. I haven't even tried.
Yeah, I think we do need to look into this.
Because a lot of my teachers sent me links to go to like Google Docs, and I can't go there because I'm not sure how to.
What I would say to that, and again, this isn't just for you. This is for everybody. Encourage teachers to make those Google Docs into Word files. It takes them about 3 mouse clicks to do it. And if they will send you those files, they can put them right inside your Google Drive that you guys have shared together. That's the best way for you to get files. But ask them, make my file a docx file, please. All they have to do is convert the file, and it takes them no time at all to do it. But oftentimes they don't know that they need to, and that will be a benefit to you. And so they just don't do it. But ask them to convert that file from a Google Docs to a docx.
All right, so you'll still look into the link possibility?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll be happy to look into it. Sure.
Is it an option for them to email you those links instead of pasting them into like like the webinar?
Actually, it's kind of like we do like breakout rooms. So when there's a group work assigned, she assigns each group a Google Docs. So it's not really something she can do, I think, ahead.
But she could decide for you that this is the one she's going to have you do, and she could just send you an email with it.
Okay, and then I can copy and paste that in the web browser?
Yes, but enter backspace L would work.
Yeah, right from within your email client, the HIMSS email program. Just focus on the link and press enter backspace L, and boom.
Yep.
All right, and then I have a couple other questions. So I haven't updated yet, but I have to constantly enter my network key a lot of times in order for my internet to connect.
Do the update. It works a lot better once you do the update. If you continue, though, to lose your router Wi-Fi connection, do what I said earlier about going into wireless options and change that channel from auto, make it 2 gigahertz.
Or 5,
Okay.
depending.
Or 5, depending on your router.
So which one do I make it to?
2 or 5. If you have a router that has both, then you can just pick one or the other. I think sometimes what happens is when you have it set to auto, it tries to bounce between which signal is the strongest, and you're kind of telling it either work on the 2 gigahertz or the 5 gigahertz band.
Like when I'm at home, I do 5G, and it's really stabilize the situation. And I think I remember, Thomas, you said something like 5G will actually give you be good for speed, but 2 gigahertz is good for range.
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, with the Polaris, I would be surprised if it could utilize the full range of 5. So if you're going to be, in a home or something like that, do the 2.4 gigahertz. If you're in a school, a lot of those have only a 5 gigahertz network now. So if you're in a school setting or you're going to school, you may want to set it to 5.
So if I'm at home, then put it to 2?
Yeah, you're gonna either want to set it to two at home, 2.4 at home is what I would do, and then 5 at school or the office is what I would do.
Okay, and then also when powering on my device, sometimes it says optimizing. So is that normal?
It can be normal. If it says that, just let it do it. Sometimes if your battery gets low and you plug it in and it's basically having to recharge from like 0 and it's been dead for a while, or if an app has like used a ton of processor RAM memory and when you turn it off and you turn it back on, sometimes it sees that and it clears it. And part of the way it clears it is by optimizing the system. And so that can happen from time to time. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. And when it happens, you're going to see numbers and they're going to go above 100%. So don't be alarmed by that.
So it's, in answer to your question, it's normal. It's a normal Android thing. It's not a Polaris thing.
Right.
Yeah, because whenever I power it on, it seems to happen sometimes, like pretty often. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, one thing.
Go ahead.
One thing that you can do, make sure all of your applications are closed. And one other thing you can do is check if there are applications running in the background in Android. So move your media switch to app mode, press the play pause button, your media key play pause button. And then if there are open applications there, you can press the letter D to get to the dismiss button and dismiss all of the open apps there. I found that if you clear all of the background applications in Android and the apps running on the Polaris before you shut it down, you're going to clear them all out, shut it down properly, and then start it up. And then that tends to resolve the issue a lot of times.
All right, thanks. I'll try doing that. And then my last question is, how long does it take to update? Because the last time something happened with my Polaris and while updating, and I had to send it in for repair because it wouldn't come back from the update.
It can depend on a lot of things, one of them being the speed of your internet connection. What I will say is once the file downloads and your machine reboots, do not unplug it, do not reset it, do not take out the battery, leave it alone until it updates. And sometimes it will start and it will get to maybe 5% or 8%. It may sit there for 10 or 15 minutes and not move. Don't do anything with it. Simply be patient.
So I just leave it?
You just leave it. If you wait for like 6-7 hours and it hasn't done anything, then you give us a call. But again, do not unplug it. Do not restart it. Do not remove the battery. Once the machine downloads the update and reboots, and you're going to know that because like if you press an L chord, nothing is going to happen. So at that point, just let it sit there. If you have any questions, though, before you unplug it or do anything, call us.
All right. So is it better to upgrade offline or online, or is it pretty much the same?
It's going to pretty much be the same. I mean, based on, situations. If your internet was maybe really, really, really slow and you can download things faster on your computer, then you could update offline, save the file to an SD card, create a folder on your flash disk called OS Update, put the file in that folder, and then choose U for utilities, U for upgrade, go down to offline and press enter to upgrade it, and that will automatically start the process. But typically, updating it online is going to be the easiest way to do it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great questions. All right, up next, Sonia. Sonia, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Hi, my question is, what is the non-Polaris apps that it talks about in the release notes when it is talking about deleting them? And also about that optimizing thing, I'm having the same problem every time I turn it off after this update, and all my apps are closed, the best I can tell. But
Since you updated your unit, Sonia, have you done space backspace F as in Frank?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I would try that maybe one more time.
Okay.
And then ask the first part of your question. Earl, did you get the first part of her question?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
The non-Polaris apps where it talks about deleting, that you can delete non-Polaris apps with space D in the release notes, what is that referring to? Which apps in particular?
Those are going to be any third-party apps that you download from the Play Store. So for example, let's say you had downloaded Zoom from Google Play. If you wanted to uninstall, that's where you would be able to use that keystroke. If it is a native Polaris app or an app otherwise known as an app that was developed specifically for this device, then that keystroke will not work.
Okay, what about like Google Photos and things
Nope.
like that?
Because they're built into the operating
That's
system,
what I thought.
so you
Okay.
cannot uninstall them.
All right.
Yeah, because we are a
Basically, you
Google
can
certified
delete any
device.
app
Yeah.
that you install.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had.
Wonderful.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Up next, we have Denise Howard. Denise, go ahead and unmute yourself and then ask away.
Hello.
Hi, Denise.
Hey, Denise.
My question is, I've heard you refer to something to the effect of KPR apps, and I wondered what are those and how do you access them?
The APK is actually the acronym. And APK is basically another way of saying that you're not going to get it from a Play Store, you're going to get it from this other place. Now, we frequently use a website called APKPure, apkpure.com. And you can, basically set up an account there, and you could be assured of the security and the safety of the things that you download from the APK Pure website. So, for example, Bard Mobile is only being developed on Android 6. It only works on Android 6 or later. So what we've had to do is refer people over to an earlier version of Bard Mobile, which works just as well. Which is, by the way, 1.0.3. So you go to the apk.com website, do your search for the application, download it directly to the Polaris, and you'll be able to install that. It's referred to as side-loading applications. And some of the applications that you side-load are actually available on the developer's website, as well as it not necessarily even in an older version. It could just be, it's available in both places on the Play Store and on their website. In contrast, with Apple, everything is just there in the App Store, and you can't find it anywhere else. But with Android stuff, you can find it. You've got other sources, and APK Pure is a wonderful source for those apps that you need to download because you need a little bit older version.
And you will need to go under settings on your Polaris, and I believe it's under security, and you're going to want to allow apps to be downloaded from other. There's a setting in there that you're going to need to change in order to install that program. But if you give tech support a call, we have it written up so we can send you directions as to how you do that, to go in there and allow those APK files to be installed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thomas. Other questions?
Yeah, right. Up next we have Casey. Casey, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Yeah, this is Casey. When I updated, I just wondered about one of the. Is there a problem with Sirius XM? Because I know it's not the most accessible app on earth. I understand that, but when I updated and then went to that site and entered on it, nothing moved. My Pandora app worked and a few other apps worked. So I'm just wondering if I need to uninstall that and reinstall it or what. Because it worked before the update, so I just wondered if there were some issues with that.
Oh, did you do that magic keystroke that Mike has mentioned earlier of enter space backspace and the letter F as in Foxtrot?
I didn't do that one, but I'll have to try that.
Do that from the main menu, Casey. Do that from the main menu. Space, enter backspace F, and then relaunch your Sirius app. I mean, I don't think that we've done anything in the software that should have broken it. If you try that and it does not work, send us an email to support or give support a call and let them know that it worked before and it has stopped. And then maybe again, that's where we do a log where you show them in a log what's going on.
Before you do that, though, maybe you go with your gut and uninstall and reinstall it again, see if it clears it
True,
up.
that couldn't hurt.
Yeah, and that would be the space D command, right? With it.
Yeah,
to
so
uninstall it.
So uninstall it. What you would do is you'd go into your All Apps program and put your focus on the Sirius XM app, and then you would press Enter with the letter I. That's going to bring up the properties for that application. One of those, the choices, if you tab through there, is going to be to remove the application from your system.
Okay, and now when you have music playing and you are an audio thing playing, if you want to exit how do you stop the audio? Because every time I try to go through the menu where it shows the menu, none of the commands work.
So we're kind of in uncharted territory there, because I personally have zero experience with Sirius XM. But what you could try is putting your media selector switch on apps mode, which is to the far left, and try pressing the play pause button for about 2 seconds and releasing it, and see if that doesn't work for you.
Okay, I know that because I know there was some command with R or something that somebody told me from tech support 2 or 3 years ago to stop when you focused on your app if you were playing not necessarily Sirius but any audio, where you could stop this audio.
No, I'm not
but I haven't been able to do that. The only thing I had happen to me when I updated is after it rebooted, and it was rebooting, so everything was downloaded, and as the numbers went up, it got up to 109. I forget what the thing is. I think it was loading the files. I think.
Or was it optimizing or initialization? Is it either
initialization? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's an Android thing.
Oh, and so I stuck. It was stuck there all night, and I did have to restart the Polaris. Well, I couldn't even do that. I had to unplug it and actually take the battery out because I had to redo it, set it again, start it up again because I couldn't do anything. It wouldn't shut off or nothing. So and it did work because one thing I noticed, the HIMS email program works much better, particularly when you get a message and delete your message or it goes to the next message much quicker. So that's one thing I noticed in the update.
Oh, cool. Well, look at you.
Well, thank you, Casey.
You did your own troubleshooting. You figured it out.
Yeah. Now in the links thing with the emails,
if you get a link that's a document, do you have the option of attaching it to or taking it to a file in the docs folder if you tab through? Because I haven't tried the backspace Enter L on the links yet.
You know, so you what you could do is so previously the command was Enter L, and what that would do is that would just use your, you know, you would just put everything in the download folder. But I believe in that when you do that, you do have an option of selecting a different folder outside of the default folder.
So now with this new command, you'd be able to do the same thing, or would you still use the Enter L to do that?
I guess if it were me, I'd use Enter L because I know that if I do that, it's just going to land in the downloads folder. I just go there and get it and drag it over to the documents folder if I care enough about it to do that. Otherwise, I go read it in the downloads folder and then delete it when I'm done.
Right. Okay.
That's going to be the most predictable thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So that's my question.
Welcome.
Thanks, Casey.
You're welcome.
Okay, up next we have Pat Hornell. Pat, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
See if this works here.
You got it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, thanks for taking my call here. A couple of things. I was going to ask you about that optimized thing too. Now, what precipitated mine, it was after I downloaded the patch for the December update. And what precipitated all of this optimizing 7 of 7 was my battery basically died in the middle of a boot when I first powered up the Polaris. And after that, anytime, most times that I run it, it goes into this optimized thing. And it's the same thing after the update. It's still, it actually stopped doing it for a while, but then it started again, optimize. I haven't tried setting the media control thing to app mode and hitting play for a couple of seconds. That is one thing I am going to try, but I was kind of wondering whether maybe the fact that the battery went dead during a startup might have precipitated something that I hope I don't have to do a factory reset or something like that. Secondly,
what I would try, Pat, is power the device off.
Yep.
Hold down your fast forward key and turn it back on. That will just do a reset of kind of all your system settings.
Okay.
That's not going to erase any data at all. You may just have to reset your settings. Give that a shot.
Okay. Now the second thing, it was kind of curious what happened. I don't like to do online firmware updates anymore. When I use wireless, it just takes forever. So I always download it on the computer, save it to an SD card, do an offline upgrade. It's much quicker. And what happened this time with this latest update, sort of the same thing. I selected the offline option and it started extracting files, and I thought, oh, cool, it's doing its thing. So I'll just go away for an hour or so and have my breakfast or whatever. And I came back an hour later, and of course I had my speech turned off, so I didn't know whether there were any error messages coming up or whatever. And it was parked at the utilities menu and the upgrade menu, online or offline. So it was just like the thing must have stopped in the middle of extracting the files. And so I didn't know what else to do, so I just ran it again, and it worked just fine. It went through the upgrade, everything worked fine.
I always recommend to everybody, if you're doing an update, have your speech turned on. It's very tempting, as you just said, and I do it, we all do it, to walk away and go have breakfast and come back and do whatever. But it is important because, you really don't know what happened that first time around, and you were lucky in that you were fine. But, it's always good to be by your machine if you can when you update and have your speech on.
Now, what would cause that?
The forces of computers and software and nature, because,
That's right.
Earl, myself, and Thomas, we can all three do updates, and different things happen at all different times. One may pause at one place where another doesn't. It's simply the way the system responds. There's no right or wrong.
Wow. And my last question, if I may, and I'm sure you've gotten this question so many times, I've asked it a number of times myself ever since I got my Polaris.
The answer is no.
When are you? Okay, you probably already know the question. Are you ever going to leave a lollipop and go to Marshmallow or Nanaimo Bar or Oreo or any of those guys?
The answer is that we are very much aware of what Android is doing. We're keeping our eyes and our ears and our fingers and our toes on it. Okay, we are aware.
Yes. So the answer is eventually yes, but for the moment, we're so proud of the functionality that we've built into this current operating system. The people who are being really productive with it, they don't care that they're using Android 10 or whatever. It's working for them. They're able to do the things that they can't do with anything else, and that's where we're going. I mean, because we could have blown our entire development budget on porting everything over to a later version of Android just so we can say that we did it, or we could really boost our functionality with things like the math editor and Google Drive and launching links from within an email message and things like that. That's the route we went because that was the best use of our development dollars. But eventually, yeah, we'll move on.
And I'm gonna no target date or anything like that.
No, there's nothing. They don't even tell us.
So I'm going to add to this a little bit. So what you'll notice is that if you look at what our competition, Humanware, is doing, you'll notice that we're taking different approaches to how we do things. So I believe they just did a webinar where they announced their greatest new feature was the ability to open PDFs natively. And we've been able to do that for how long now, guys?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Right from the beginning. And that's a very clear distinction of the approach differences. So we want to make a device that is going to work well. And yeah, it's Android, so it's extensible. You can download these applications and use them if you want, but we don't want to rely on third-party Android applications. We want to develop our own Android applications. We want to develop.
I don't think they've upgraded their operating system either. I think they're still at Oreo, whichever one it is. Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, and they're beholden to these third-party applications, and they're trying to play catch-up with us in terms of native applications, and that's because we focused on them. So yeah, we have a little bit older operating system, but man, we got the best Google Drive integration that anybody's had. We've got excellent
We can select text on the web without having to have the speech buffer buffer it and read it.
That is a huge deal. So I actually I didn't know this. I mean, I was in a presentation, and somebody said, "Well, can we turn off speech just to copy and paste something off the web and then paste it into an edit field?" And the answer is no. And the presenter actually said, "Well, if you don't want to hear the speech, just turn it all the way down to 0." There's just there's no association between our speech and what we can copy and paste off the web. It just seamlessly works.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you kindly for answering my questions.
You're welcome, Pat. You have a good day.
Thank you.
You too. Stay safe.
Thanks so much.
All right. Up next, we have, let's see. I am sorry, but I do not know how to read this name. It's not, the characters probably aren't there. So go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. All right. Let's see real quick. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to Audrey. Audrey, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. Audrey? Oh, there we go.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for this webinar. It's my first one. And my name is Meir. I'm from Israel, and I'm a musician, and I'm not telling it for nothing because I have some questions. First of all, I have an idea that maybe you can do it because it's very good for me when I'm talking and explaining something in music. While playing the music player, if you can do the cursor move with the music like when you are receiving new messages, because if I want to examine something or to example something to people, I can move intuitively to the part of the music I want. But moving by presence, I don't think it's a
File Manager, F.
You know. So this is my first question. I have some other questions. I'm waiting for you.
All right, so Mikhail, let me just answer you by saying that if I understand, have you been using the cursor routing buttons to move within a song?
No, yes, it is, but I don't know while hearing the song what part of the song I'm in.
Yeah.
I not see the
good idea.
The graphic.
To add the percentages, I'm a musician
Yes.
also, and I actually play, do live performances, and they use my Polaris to fire my backing tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if I go into my media player,
M.
Let's just say, I'm gonna go in the media player here real quick.
Title, there are no items to display static
And
box.
I'm going to go open a file on one of my sets, okay?
Okay.
File dialog. Set 1 folder 23, 28 list
set
item.
1. Let's go to...
Set 2 folder 24, 28 list item.
Set 2 here.
01, a long train running in China Grove tracks.
Okay.
02 already gone in Hotel
Okay, so
California
this
tracks.
is here's a
One file is
song
added to playlist.
that I've actually, you know, I just basically
Title, track 102
played the
already gone in
instruments
Hotel California
myself.
tracks. MP3 play static box.
Okay, and now I know that this is 2 songs. So I've got them run together. I go from a song called Already Gone to a song called Hotel California. I know that if I go to the center of the Braille display, press the cursor routing button.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm at the next song, and I can really, you know, so I've got like 12 minutes worth of music here. I can really pretty well focus in on the area if I want the guitar solo. I can just press the routing button until I find the place that I want to be at.
No, I use this function, but if you make a lecture, for example, and you want to explain and to repeat back, so I don't remember every piece of music where I am and what.
I understand. It's a good feature. So you want to be able to have some sort of a reference point, like a
marker. Yeah.
Okay, this is one, but I have some more questions.
Okay.
If I can. I am, as I told you, from Israel. There is an application of our blind library for the blind that doesn't work on our Android. There is a possible to make it work, or may I have to do something for causing it to help, because it works just above the Android of
oh, it's a version 6. It's a version 6 app.
Maybe, I don't know which version.
If it's a version 6 app, it isn't going to work. If there's an earlier version of that application, there's a very good chance that it.
Okay, so never mind.
Version. Yeah.
Okay, so another question. While I'm in word processor, I'm using this unit very, very much, and I love it. And it's my best friend in last year, because I bought it a year ago. And I have a question in Word. When I'm opening a file, and after that I want to open another one. So I press .8 and O, and after that with space F3, go back to for example, a folder with something like some hundreds of files. I want to make find there to make space F, and I cannot.
Oh, from within the word processor.
Either the word processor or the notepad. It's the same problem.
Oh, do you know about that, Mike?
I do not. I'm thinking through what you're saying, though. Does it work in the file manager for you?
My file manager works correctly, but for example, if I'll tell you once more, I'm opening a file, and after that, I'm pressing enter O. After that, space F3 and backspace to go to the folder I want.
Right.
But in this folder, I have something like 900 files. So if I want to find it, I have to write the first letter many times until maybe I will find it. But I think it must be possible that to press space F and to find, like when I'm, when I'm finding something.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do not believe that is available, but it's a good idea. So we can.
It was, sorry, it was in the earlier versions, so it's possible.
It was in the earlier version.
I'm sorry, I'm using it for all my day, during all the day I'm
No,
using
I believe you. I
so.
certainly believe you.
Okay, so the other question, if I can, for example, merging a file, okay? It's enter and the letter I. There, I have to search in the folder of text files, docs files, but I have not the options to choose search all files. I have to choose every category. I don't have the option to choose search all files. Why? I hope you understand my question. Hello?
Yeah, I understand it, but
Actually,
I'm
sir, I
not sure.
apologize. I was actually trying to duplicate your issue there with the find command with the word processor. I heard you mentioning something about merging a file.
Yes, I want to merge a file. When I'm opening a file, I'm pressing Control I, Enter I. While searching the files, I have not the options to choose search all files. I have to choose either docs or TXT or ODT. Why do I have to search every category and not all files? Can you do something about this?
Did you have the option before?
No, I didn't use it. I use it just, I discovered it just last week.
I think Thomas, you need to get this guy's information and get him on the beta team. If you're willing, I think you'd be a wonderful addition to our test team.
You want to join our beta?
Sorry, my English is very low, so maybe.
So we have a group of volunteer testers who provide feedback to us all the time, and it's a very select group because we can't have hundreds of people on it. But I think what we'd like to do in your case, because you are such a power user, is have Thomas get your information, and
I would be very happy to be a part of it.
That'd be awesome.
And maybe another question, if you can. Sometimes I turn on my unit, and there are files that I find just the title without the file. It's an empty file. It's a very great problem. I'm very sorry about it.
I haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't seen that either. Who's
I see it many times, and I don't know what to do. So every file I'm creating in my Polaris, I have to copy it in an SD card and in the internal in some other folder, so I will not lose it.
That one I've not heard of.
And I have much more questions, but I think it's enough for one.
So
who's your distributor?
In Israel, it's his name is Avi Man.
Yeah, I think that we need to tie you in with the international folks here, because some of the problems that you're describing could be a low. Are you using the English interface? or are you using
the English, the interface? My interface is in Hebrew.
Hebrew? Okay.
Yeah.
So it could be there's a lot of problems that you're having that we haven't heard of, and it could be a localization issue. And I think the only folks that are going to be able to address that are, is HIMS International.
I will be very happy to get the address. I also sent this question to someone called Jenny. I don't know it's the right address, but but I sent.
Yeah, she's the right person for sure.
Okay.
Send your contact information to Thomas at Thomas THOMAS.
Yes.
HIMS.
Just a minute. Just a minute. I'm opening the Polaris.
Okay.
Just to tell you a beautiful story about your Polaris, I'm a singer, and always when I'm on the stage, my Polaris is on my neck, and I read the words.
Ah, that's lovely.
That's beautiful. I've done that many times.
And everyone can see me in YouTube with your Polaris. So I am your advertisement. Okay.
We appreciate that.
Thomas, what?
Yes, Thomas at HIMS, so HIMS dash.
Just a minute. I am in Hebrew. Sorry. THOMAS at HIMS.
HIMS hyphen INC dot.
Hyphen is underline? Yes.
No, not the underline, dash.
Yeah. Dash? Okay.
HIMS dash.com.
Rega, HIMS dash?
INC.
Inc.com?
Yes. Earl, your audio cut out right there. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, I will write to you, and I am very appreciating your answers.
We appreciate you being on the webinar. Thank you so much. And thank you for being such a proud user of our products. And
I am very, very proud. Yes.
We're proud that you're here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Audrey Levine, if you are here, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Audrey, if you're on a phone, you want to press *6.
No,
or find the unmute button.
Yeah, she's on a Polaris or a computer.
That's my phone. Nice.
All right. While we're waiting for Audrey, and all right, phone number ending in 2689. 2689. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Yes, I sort of want to go back to where you guys were talking about Android updates and stuff, and I don't expect you to add a lot to this, but one of the problems I had recently that goes along with this is when I got my Polaris back from being worked on and I went to put apps back on it, there are a lot of apps, and I'm assuming this is because when I went to the App Store, that of course it went to the most current versions of those apps. There were numerous apps that it told me were not, that it wouldn't allow me to put on my device. It said, my device basically couldn't utilize those apps and it wouldn't let me install them. So, these were apps that I had on before. So I guess, and I don't know what the best solution is. Obviously, I understand that you're looking at other things before you look at, updating Android, but I think that's one problem, that we're running into more and more that can't be used. And, the other thing is, I don't know if there would have been, a way for you guys as tech people to save the versions, that I had on there before. I know they didn't want to go into the App Store and put stuff on, but, I lost several things that I really wanted because there was no way for me to put current versions on. So it's something, I know you can't do anything about it right now, but it's something I think is, worth you guys looking at. to see what we can do to rectify.
Let me
Sure.
say, Shirley, that we do hear what you're saying. We take what you're saying very seriously. And one thing that you can do is, as Earl was talking about earlier in the webinar, the APK Pure website. Go there, see if some earlier apps are there. Commonly, apps get stored there. That's what the APK Pure site, that's one thing it's all about, is keeping older versions of Android apps. That's one thing they do on that site. So that's the first
Okay.
thing you want to do is check that site. But with that being said, we certainly do hear what you're saying. We get it. We know it. And
yeah, I mean, I don't
lightly.
want to, what's the word, prolong the discussion too much. I understand your situation, but I felt I needed to at least bring it into focus because it definitely hurt me in some of the things that I needed and wanted to use that I can't get back now.
I understand, and as I said, we certainly are taking it in advisement. I mean, that's
okay. So this website is called APK Pure.
APKPURE.com.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe that's one of the things we can hit, a little bit when I talk with you, offline. But I just felt like since it had been brought up, I wanted to mention where some of these problems do come in because I was surprised at, the amount of things I couldn't put back on.
Okay.
So thanks again.
Thank you, Shirley.
All right. And Audrey?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. There you go.
Oh my goodness. I am using the Polaris, and when you couldn't hear me, I called on the phone. So I'm on the phone now. Well, to speak on the Polaris, do I just speak into it and I can hang up the phone? That's my question.
Well, let's not try that right now. You have a connection, so let's just go.
Okay, so it's regarding my connection. Okay. It's becoming the holiday, the high holiday Rosh Hashanah.
Okay, but you're going way far away, Audrey. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me on the phone? Okay, so it must be the Polaris picking me up because it's like an echo. Can you hear me better now?
We can hear you much better now, so apparently you're on the Polaris. Yes.
I'm going to hang up the phone then.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, now I'm going to turn on stereo. Okay, so during the high holiday service, can you hear me okay?
Well, you're good. Just go. Yep, we got you.
Good. So that answers my question. I just to the Polaris. Okay. My question is, during the high holidays, I was asked to do a portion of the service, and they want me to be seen, because it's a sighted population. So what would be the best alternative? Should I use the Polaris, the iPhone, or have a camera on the computer?
Thomas, you want to?
It's a Zoom thing.
Usually, is she better on an iPhone or a computer?
Oh man, I'm antisocial. I don't do this too much.
Okay.
I would recommend doing it on probably the iPhone. So the Polaris, you're going to have a little bit of an issue because you're not really going to be able to set it down too well,
Yes.
So it's a bit awkward. You're not going to be able to control it. So I would probably say if you're going to use a single device, use your iPhone. If you can also use multiple devices to do this. So, for example, you could use your Polaris for audio and your iPhone for visual.
Let's not muddy the water. Let's just use one device because we don't want to muddy the water.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to pick one device, go iPhone.
And so somebody's going to have to hold that iPhone for you, right?
Or a laptop is best.
A laptop would be best because you sit on a table pointed at you, and boom, you got the webcam pointing right at you. Nobody has to hold it, and you don't have to worry about it. That's what I would do.
Oh, okay. It's just a short portion where I'll have to read a Braille book to do the prayer. Okay.
And I would agree with Earl. Just use your computer. You've got that Mac there. That Mac will do Zoom perfectly well.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want to use Windows, you can do it either way.
Mac is awesome.
I can use Windows on the Mac. I don't know if this has a built-in mic though.
I would, if I were you, Audrey, because I know what you've got, use your Mac, go in on the Mac side, use Zoom on the Mac. The microphones are going to be perfect and you're going to be just fine.
Okay, next question. The manual, I think I spoke to Mike about this last night. I looked in the manual and it does not have the enter backspace L command in the email chapter. So
I don't know if you were here earlier, but Earl's going to add to what I'm going to say. But the best way to look at the new things in the release is to look at the release notes.
Oh, the release
you can
notes.
Get the
okay.
release notes by pressing F2, F3R, tab once, and then you can read all the release notes. If you want to save them, tab again to the save button and press enter. Go, Earl.
No, yeah, I have nothing to add to that.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll do that. And then the last thing that we were working on yesterday, Mike, yes, we deleted it from the server and from the email.
I'm aware.
But what did not get deleted this morning, when I went to check the email on my U2 Mini, which is on POP3, it brought that in, although it was still not, the extra emails that we deleted
Audrey,
yesterday.
for this kind of thing, we really can't take it on a public webinar.
That's fine.
If you're having issues with it, you need to give us a call and support. And it's not that I don't want to help you.
I know.
It's that there's too many variables. You got a U2 and a Polaris and a computer and a iPhone, and there's all these different variables about things. And so we want to dig in. This is a thing, though, where it's not training related. It truly is tech support. So you feel free to call us. Somebody earlier asked a question about what's training and what's tech support. Well, I'm not going to go into your issue publicly, but your issue is a tech support issue. So call us.
Okay. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Audrey. You're welcome.
So we're 2 hours and 15 minutes in here. Do we have a lot of questions left, Thomas?
We've got about 48 hands up.
48?
No, I'm kidding. We got 2. We had 2. We're at 1. We have one. Somebody
moaned upstairs.
Okay. We all right. We got 2 here. So I'm gonna have Donna. Donna, go ahead.
All right, so we've got 2 more questions that we're going to take, and then unfortunately we're going to have to be done because I have a grilled steak that is waiting for me.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me knows I love steak. Go, Donna.
Donna, you got to unmute yourself first, and then go for it.
If you're on a computer, Alt-A. If you're on a phone, *6.
She must be on the computer because he knew her name.
Donna, can you hear us? If you're on a Polaris, press U for unmute and press enter.
All right. While we're waiting for While we're waiting for Donna, we're gonna have Sonia. Sonia, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask away.
Quick question.
There you go, Sonia.
I did ask this for support through support and just never did hear back. And you might tell me to call support again, but I'm trying to work out making a macro to open a file. And I know you have to put in the little pauses, but for some reason I can't quite get it to work correctly. If there are any steps that can be sent to me, or if you want me to just contact support.
Yeah, I would say, macros are those things that that you really need to spend time with and get. Yeah, this is a support issue.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, but let me also say to you, Sonia, that a lot of what you're doing in there with those pauses is kind of experimentation. It's kind of like if you think about a phone, like an iPhone. If you put commas in there was a pause. Well, how many commas do I need?
Right,
before
that's
it really
the problem.
wants me to enter my extension. And so you play with it and you add 2 or 3 and you take 20 away. It's kind of like that.
Right. 200
So
milliseconds.
really
I'm not sure what that means, really.
200 milliseconds is Well, let's put it this way: 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second.
Oh, okay. All right. That helps right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. I can
And
do this.
Sonia, again, if you have questions about this and you cannot resolve it, what I want you to do, and I don't do this often, call tech support, tell tech support, and I will make them aware, tell tech support that you spoke to me on a webinar and that I gave them permission to put you in touch with me. So if they can't, if you don't feel that, because this is very tricky and it's
Yeah.
something that I've dealt with a lot. So way back from the Braille and Speak days.
Yes, yes.
So
Fred Gassoni always
Yep.
talked very highly of your abilities. So I
Thank you so much. And that almost brings tears to my eyes. Seriously,
Yes.
Fred Gassoni was a dear friend.
Absolutely. Same here.
If you do not, if you cannot get it going, tell tech support to get you in touch with me. And if they don't feel like they can do that, tell them to call me.
I will. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sonia.
All right.
Donna, did you get unmuted?
She's still working on it.
Donna, if you
Alt A, Shift Command A if you're on a Mac.
Press and hold your space bar.
Yeah, space bar works.
Press space.
Well, it's like the key on a walkie-talkie. You press and hold it, and when you're done talking,
Hold the button down.
That's right.
Click your heels.
We do have a caller, 7012.
Take it.
Token. 7012. Go ahead and talk.
Yes.
That's
I'd like to
John.
know. I'd like to know if you wanted to go to college or get your master's, can you use the Polaris to like you do the computer to do?
So
you
let
know,
me say
like
to
Blackboard?
you, let me address it this way, Joan. A Polaris is like using an iPad or an Android tablet. I mean, a Polaris is a Polaris. It's a note-taking device. It does what it does, and it does it well. A Polaris is not as powerful as a full-fledged Windows PC. So, that's how we think of the Polaris. So oftentimes we think about, most people who are sighted, they have their iPad, they have their laptop. So we recommend that blind people do the same. We have a Polaris, we have a laptop.
Okay.
So,
I just love my Polaris.
You can collect your information, do your research, and take all your notes on the Polaris. You're not going to write your doctoral thesis on the Polaris. What you're going to do is compile all that information, move it over to your computer, and make it pretty in the word processor.
Oh, okay. Make it pretty.
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been better said.
Okay. It would, if it was left up to me, I'd rather use my Polaris for everything. I just love it. I'd rather
Well, we're
have
glad
it.
you love it.
Awesome.
I'd rather
We're
have
glad
it
you
than
love
than to use JAWS and all that stuff. I don't
Well, we
care for
appreciate we do appreciate that. You know what? We use our Polarises a lot too. I mean, when I came on this meeting tonight, I came on it with my Polaris. I did not come on it with a computer and Zoom. I used my Polaris.
I still got my U2 going.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, what happened is it won't do that. It loses data if I have it on battery, so I have to keep it plugged up. So that we were thinking that the motherboard had gone in it, and then they told me at tech support it could be any other reason, So I was gonna send it back and send $700 and something, but then this lady agreed with me to get a new one, get a Polaris.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you got the Polaris. That's an updated machine for you.
Okay.
And you've got your U2 as a backup. What you could also try is possibly getting a new battery for that U2. It may just be a battery.
Well, I did. I got 2 batteries this summer.
Okay.
And I sent it back to tech support, and they put the internal battery in.
Okay.
Gotcha. So and then and it doesn't work good off of
Well, just keep it
adapter.
plugged in then, but now you have an upgraded machine, so you have your Polaris, and so you can, you know.
Mhm. But I love both of them. I really
Well, we're
do.
glad you do.
Mhm. Okay. Thank
All right,
you
John,
very
thank
much.
you so much.
I enjoyed tonight.
We enjoy doing it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Donna, did you unmute?
Let's give Donna one more chance. Interestingly enough, the question about what product to use when you're in college, I don't remember taking a whole lot of notes when I was in school. I remember sitting through class, drinking a coffee, trying to stay
I was going to say,
awake.
you're sitting there in class drinking coffee and looking at all the people, and like, that's what you're doing, Thomas.
Yeah, that
I
was.
guess it helps to have a photographic memory too, huh?
Yeah, well, it doesn't work if you don't take a photograph of what you're supposed to learn.
I won't go there, but you do have a great memory. I'll say that for you.
Donna, you raised your hand. I'm clicking ask to unmute. I think last time you were on, I don't remember what device you were on last time, but just go
I
ahead
think we're
and.
going to have to call it, unfortunately. I think Donna or anybody else, if you're listening, if you have any questions post-webinar, do send them to support at hims-inc.com, especially if it's a support question. You can also reach us if you have sales-related questions at sales@hims-inc.com. See how clever? Support for support and sales for sales. You can also give us a call. Our main number is 512-837-2000. Always happy to answer your question there as well. But for now, I think we're going to have to sign off. Mike has a date with a steak, and I've got something waiting for me upstairs too. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a delight. I know that we had over 100 people registered for this webinar. Truly was a pleasure for all of us to be here this evening. And thank you all for joining us. Have a great evening, everybody.
A good one all. Bye-bye.